Black girl sells lemonade to pay for her chemo. Then Clint Eastwood shows up and shocks everyone. We dream of reaching 1,000 followers by the end of February. Subscribe and be part of our dream too. Thank you. Under the blazing summer sun, 8-year-old Mia sat behind her tiny lemonade stand, her small hands carefully stacking cups next to a pitcher of her homemade lemonade. The little stand, made of old wooden boards painted in bright colors, stood proudly on the corner of her neighborhood street. Her sign read, "Lemonade, $1." But this was no ordinary lemonade stand. Every cup sold was helping to pay for something far more important: Mia's cancer treatment. Mia's bright smile hid the battle she was fighting. Diagnosed with leukemia a year ago, her family had struggled to cover the mounting costs of chemotherapy. She had overheard her mom one night, tears streaming down her face as she talked about the bills. That's when Mia decided she wanted to help. Her idea was simple: sell lemonade. And while a single dollar seemed like a small contribution, Mia's heart was set on doing her part. As she sat waiting for customers, her neighborhood friends stopped by to cheer her on. "You're so brave, Mia," her best friend Ava said, giving her a hug. Even the occasional passerby admired her determination, buying a cup and leaving a few extra dollars. But on this particular afternoon, something extraordinary was about to happen, something Mia could never have imagined. A sleek black car slowed as it approached her stand. The tinted window rolled down, and a familiar, rugged face emerged. It was Clint Eastwood. The legendary actor had been passing through town on his way to a quiet getaway, but something about Mia's stand had caught his eye. Curious, he stepped out of the car, his tall frame and iconic squint making him instantly recognizable. "Hello there," Clint said in his gravelly voice, tipping his hat. "What's a young lady like you doing running this lemonade stand all by herself?" Mia blinked in surprise, her mouth slightly agape. She couldn't believe she was standing face to face with the man she had seen in her dad's old Western movies. "I'm selling lemonade to help pay for my cancer treatment," she said softly, her voice steady but tinged with innocence. Clint's face softened as he crouched down to her level. "That's mighty brave of you," he said, pulling out his wallet. "I'll take a glass of your finest lemonade." Mia's hands trembled slightly as she poured lemonade into a plastic cup, her small fingers clutching the pitcher tightly. Clint Eastwood stood before her, watching her with kind eyes, his rugged demeanor softened by her courage. "Here you go, Mr. Eastwood," she said shyly, handing him the cup. Clint took a sip, savoring the sweet and tangy flavor. "Best lemonade I've had in years," he said with a smile. Mia's cheeks flushed with pride. "Thank you, sir," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. The moment felt surreal, and she could see the awe in the eyes of her neighbors, who had gathered nearby to catch a glimpse of the iconic actor. Reaching into his wallet, Clint pulled out a crisp $100 bill and handed it to Mia. Her eyes widened in disbelief. "This is too much," she said, her voice faltering. "It's just $1 per cup." Clint chuckled, shaking his head. "It's not about the lemonade, young lady. It's about supporting someone as brave as you." But he didn't stop there. Clint glanced around at the small crowd forming and addressed Mia directly. "What kind of treatment are you going through, kid?" Mia hesitated for a moment, glancing at her mother, who had just stepped outside, her face a mix of curiosity and concern. "Chemotherapy," Mia said softly. "My mom says it's really expensive." Clint stood up, his towering frame commanding attention. "Well," he said, looking at Mia's mother, "I think we can do something about that." He pulled out his phone and made a quick call, speaking in low tones that carried an air of authority. Moments later, he turned back to Mia and her mother, his expression serious but warm. "I'll just arrange to cover all of Mia's medical expenses. Whatever she needs, it's taken care of." The crowd gasped collectively, their whispers filling the air. Mia's mother covered her mouth with her hands, tears streaming down her face. "Mr. Eastwood," she stammered, her voice choked with emotion. "I don't even know how to thank you." Clint smiled gently. "You don't have to thank me. It's the least I can do." Mia looked up at Clint, her eyes glistening. "Does this mean I don't have to sell lemonade anymore?" she asked innocently. Clint chuckled, crouching down to her level. Only if you don't want to. But something tells me this stand has made a bigger difference than you realize. The news of Clint Eastwood's extraordinary gesture spread like wildfire. By the next morning, the quiet suburban street where Mia's lemonade stand sat was bustling with activity. Neighbors, local business owners, and even strangers from neighboring towns stopped by to see the little girl who had captured everyone's hearts. Mia, sitting behind her stand with her usual bright smile, was overwhelmed by the sudden attention. People brought flowers, cards, and donations, all inspired by Clint's kindness and Mia's bravery. Her mom, Sarah, stood nearby, touched by the outpouring of support. "Mia, look at all these people," she said, her voice filled with pride. "They're here for you." Mia beamed as her best friend Ava skipped up to the stand, a handmade sign in her hands. "I made this for you," Ava said, holding up a poster that read, "Mia's Lemonade Stand, powered by love." The bright colors and glitter made Mia giggle. "Thanks, Ava," she said, giving her friend a big hug. "This is the best sign ever." As the day went on, more visitors arrived, including local reporters who wanted to share Mia's story. One journalist knelt beside her, microphone in hand. "Mia, how does it feel to have so many people supporting you?" he asked. Mia thought for a moment before answering. "It feels like I'm not alone," she said simply, her words resonating with everyone present. Meanwhile, Clint Eastwood's involvement didn't end with his initial gesture. True to his word, he had arranged for Mia's medical expenses to be covered in full. He even sent a video message that was played on local news, encouraging others to step up for children like Mia. "Sometimes it takes a little bit of lemonade to remind us what really matters," Clint said in his iconic gravelly voice. "Mia's courage has inspired me, and I hope it inspires you too." The community took Clint's words to heart. A group of local businesses organized a fundraiser in Mia's honor, donating a portion of their proceeds to pediatric cancer research. Schools held bake sales, and residents started a campaign called Mia's Miracle to support other families facing similar challenges. The ripple effect of Clint's generosity and Mia's spirit had ignited a movement. That evening, as the crowd thinned and the sun dipped below the horizon, Mia sat with her mom on the porch steps of their small home. Sarah wrapped an arm around her daughter, her voice soft. "Do you see what you've done, sweetheart? You've brought so many people together." Mia looked up at her mom, her eyes sparkling with hope. "Do you think I'll get better, Mom?" she asked quietly. Sarah's throat tightened, but she smiled, her heart filled with renewed faith. "I think with all this love and support, anything is possible." Mia clutched her favorite stuffed bunny as she sat in the hospital room, her small legs dangling over the edge of the chair. The sterile smell of disinfectant and the quiet hum of machines filled the air. Today marked the beginning of her chemotherapy treatment, and though she was nervous, the thought of her community's support gave her courage. Sarah knelt beside her daughter, brushing a stray curl from Mia's face. "You're so brave," she said softly, her voice filled with pride. Mia nodded, clutching the bunny tighter. "Do you think Clint Eastwood ever felt scared in his movies?" she asked, her big eyes looking up at her mom. Sarah smiled. "I'm sure he did, sweetheart. But just like you, he faced every challenge head-on." The nurse entered the room, her kind smile putting Mia slightly at ease. "Hi, Mia," she said cheerfully. "Are you ready to get started?" Mia took a deep breath and nodded. As the treatment began, Sarah held her daughter's hand tightly, whispering words of encouragement. Despite the discomfort, Mia didn't cry. Instead, she imagined herself as the hero of her own story, just like the character she admired in Clint's movies. Meanwhile, the support from the community poured in. Ava had rallied Mia's friends to decorate her room with drawings, letters, and pictures. Each one carried messages of love and hope, reminding Mia that she was never alone. Even the hospital staff were moved by her story, often stopping by to chat or bring small surprises to lift her spirits. As the weeks went on, the treatments began to take their toll. Mia's energy waned, and her curls started to fall out, but her spirit remained strong. Clint Eastwood sent her another video message, this time from a film set. "Hey, Mia," he said, tipping his hat. "I hear you've been tougher than all the cowboys I've ever played. Keep fighting, kiddo. You're the real hero." The video brought tears to Mia's eyes, but it also gave her the strength to keep going. Her story continued to inspire others, and the Mia's Miracle campaign grew larger by the day. People from across the country wrote letters, sent donations, and shared their own stories of overcoming challenges. One evening, after a particularly tough day, Mia lay in bed with Sarah by her side. "Mom, do you think I'll ever get to thank Clint Eastwood in person?" she asked, her voice soft but hopeful. Sarah smiled, brushing a kiss on her daughter's forehead. "I think anything is possible, Mia. You've already proven that." As Mia drifted off to sleep, surrounded by love and the hope of a brighter future, she dreamed of the day she would meet her hero again, not just as a little girl selling lemonade, but as a survivor who had shown the world the power of courage and kindness. Months into her chemotherapy, Mia faced her toughest battle yet. The treatments had left her weak, and her once bright smile occasionally dimmed under the weight of her struggle. Yet, the community's unwavering support never wavered. Each day, new letters, gifts, and messages of encouragement arrived, reminding her that she wasn't alone in this fight. One morning, Mia woke up feeling particularly drained. The energy to even sit up in bed seemed beyond her reach. Sarah, ever by her side, gently held her hand. "It's okay to feel tired, sweetie," she said, her voice soothing. "Your body is working hard to get better." Mia nodded slowly, her voice barely a whisper. "Do you think everyone still believes in me?" Sarah's heart ached, but she smiled and gestured toward the colorful wall filled with cards, posters, and drawings sent by friends and strangers alike. "Look around you, Mia," she said. "Every single one of these people believes in you. And so do I." Later that day, a surprise visitor arrived. Clint Eastwood, true to his promise, had come to see Mia in person. The moment he stepped into her room, her eyes lit up with disbelief. "Clint," she exclaimed, her voice filled with a spark of energy that had been missing for days. He smiled, tipping his hat. "Thought I'd check in on my favorite lemonade entrepreneur," he said warmly. Clint pulled a chair beside her bed and chatted with Mia, his deep voice a comforting presence. He shared stories from his films and asked about her progress. Mia, despite her fatigue, shared her dream of one day making a movie about her journey. "I think it would be the best story ever," she said, her cheeks flushed with excitement. Clint nodded thoughtfully. "You know, kiddo, I think you're right. And you'd make a fantastic star." Before he left, Clint handed Mia a small envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter encouraging her to keep fighting, along with a signed photo of the two of them together. "This is for you," he said. "And when you're ready, we'll make that movie happen." The visit reinvigorated Mia's spirit. She began to push through her treatments with a renewed determination, often talking about Clint's visit and the promise of her future film. Her doctors noticed the change in her energy and attitude, marveling at her resilience. One evening, as Mia sat with Sarah on their porch, sipping lemonade, she looked up at the stars. "Do you think I'm winning, Mom?" she asked softly. Sarah wrapped her arm around Mia's shoulders and kissed her forehead. "You've been winning since the day you decided to fight, sweetheart." The days ahead wouldn't be easy, but Mia's renewed strength and the love surrounding her gave her the courage to face whatever came next. Her story, now larger than she could have imagined, continued to inspire others across the world. And though her battle was far from over, Mia knew deep down that she had already achieved something extraordinary. Weeks turned into months, and slowly but surely, Mia began to show signs of improvement. Her once pale cheeks regained their color, and her laughter started to echo through the house again. Each milestone, no matter how small, was celebrated by her family and the community. The doctors cautiously shared optimistic updates, and for the first time in what felt like forever, hope seemed within reach. Mia's progress inspired even more support from the Mia's Miracle campaign. The story of the little girl who sold lemonade to fight cancer and received a life-changing act of kindness from Clint Eastwood had become a nationwide phenomenon. Donations continued to pour in, not only for Mia, but for other children battling cancer. The campaign had raised enough funds to establish a pediatric cancer research grant in Mia's name, ensuring her legacy would live on no matter what. One sunny afternoon, Mia surprised her mom by asking to set up her lemonade stand again. "Are you sure, sweetheart?" Sarah asked, her voice filled with both pride and concern. Mia nodded enthusiastically. I feel strong enough, Mom. And this time, I want to help other kids like me. Together, they rebuilt the stand, painting it in bright colors and adding a new sign. Mia's Lemonade Stand, supporting childhood cancer research. The neighborhood rallied around her once more, with friends, family, and even strangers stopping by to buy lemonade and leave donations. It wasn't just a stand anymore. It was a symbol of resilience, hope, and the power of community. As Mia poured lemonade for her customers, Clint Eastwood made another surprise appearance, this time with a film crew in tow. "We're here to start working on that movie, kiddo," he said with a grin. Mia's eyes lit up with excitement as she hugged him tightly. "Really?" she asked, her voice full of wonder. Clint nodded. "Your story is too important not to share." Over the next few weeks, the small town became a hub of activity as the production began. Mia's story was brought to life on the screen, with her playing a special role as herself. The film captured the highs and lows of her journey, from her lemonade stand to her treatments and the extraordinary support that had surrounded her. When the movie premiered, it was met with critical acclaim, touching hearts around the world. Mia and her family attended the red carpet event, where she wore a sparkling yellow dress that matched the brightness of her lemonade stand. Reporters and fans alike marveled at her strength and courage, and Mia spoke confidently about her dream of helping others. "I fought hard, but I didn't do it alone," she said during an interview. "This isn't just my story. It's about everyone who stood by me. And now I want to give back." As the credits rolled on the big screen, accompanied by a montage of real-life moments from Mia's journey, there wasn't a dry eye in the theater. Clint Eastwood's voice narrated the final line. "Sometimes the smallest stands leave the biggest marks. And sometimes it takes a little girl with a big heart to remind us all what it means to fight." Mia's story became a beacon of hope, transcending her small town and reaching people worldwide. The success of the movie propelled her message further, turning her into a symbol of resilience and kindness. Now 10 years old and officially in remission, Mia was determined to make a difference for others like her. Her lemonade stand evolved into something far greater. Partnering with the Mia's Miracle Foundation, she and her family launched a national initiative called Lemonade for Hope. Communities across the country set up lemonade stands, with proceeds going toward childhood cancer research and support for families facing medical hardships. The sight of yellow banners reading, "Inspired by Mia," became a common and heartwarming feature of neighborhoods everywhere. Clint Eastwood remained a steadfast supporter, attending the launch event for the foundation and delivering a heartfelt speech. "Mia reminds us all that strength doesn't come from size or age, but from heart and determination," he said. "This young lady has done more than just fight her battle. She's created a movement." Mia, now more confident than ever, took the stage herself. "I never thought selling lemonade could do so much," she said, her voice steady and clear. "But it wasn't just me. It was everyone who believed in me, who stood by me. And now I want every kid fighting cancer to know they're not alone." Her words sparked a standing ovation, and the event raised over $1 million for the foundation, setting a record. More importantly, it solidified Mia's role as a young leader, someone who turned her personal struggle into a force for good. In the years that followed, Mia continued to inspire. She traveled to hospitals, meeting other children battling cancer, and sharing her story. Her visits brought smiles to weary faces and comfort to families in their darkest moments. "If I can do it, you can too," she often said, her words carrying a power far beyond her years. One day, during a visit to a children's hospital, Mia met a little boy named Caleb. He was 7 years old and reminded her of herself when she first started treatment. Caleb's mom explained that he had been struggling to stay positive, and Mia immediately took him under her wing. They spent hours together, playing games, drawing, and talking about their favorite movies. Before leaving, Mia handed Caleb a small yellow bracelet inscribed with the words, "Mia's Miracle." "This is for you," she said. "Whenever you feel scared, just look at it and remember you're not alone." Caleb's eyes lit up as he hugged her tightly, and his mom fought back tears. "Thank you," she whispered. "You've given us hope." Back home, Mia continued to balance her advocacy with the joys of childhood. She played with her friends, went to school, and dreamed of one day becoming a pediatric oncologist to help kids like herself. Her lemonade stand, though now a symbol of something much larger, still stood proudly in her front yard, a reminder of where her journey began. As she sat on her porch one evening, sipping lemonade with her mom, Mia looked up at the stars. "Do you think people will always remember what we did, Mom?" she asked. Sarah smiled, her heart swelling with pride. "I think they'll remember what you did, sweetheart. You turned something simple into something extraordinary." Mia nodded thoughtfully, her gaze fixed on the sky. "I just want everyone to know that even the smallest things can make a big difference." Years after her recovery, Mia continued to dedicate her life to the cause that had defined her childhood. Now a teenager, she worked tirelessly with the Mia's Miracle Foundation, balancing her schoolwork with speaking engagements, fundraisers, and visits to hospitals. Her lemonade stand had become a global symbol of hope, and its story inspired countless communities to take action. One summer afternoon, Mia and her best friend Ava sat in the shade of a large oak tree near the original spot where her lemonade stand had stood. They were now 16, their bond stronger than ever. "Can you believe this all started with a pitcher of lemonade?" Ava asked, laughing as she sipped her drink. Mia smiled, her gaze thoughtful. "Sometimes it's the smallest things that make the biggest difference," she said. "I never thought we'd come this far, but I'm glad we did." Their conversation was interrupted by Sarah, who waved from the porch. "Mia, you've got a letter," she called. Letters had always been a special part of Mia's journey, and she cherished the personal stories people shared with her. As she opened the envelope, her eyes widened. "It's from Clint," she exclaimed, her voice filled with excitement. Clint Eastwood's letter was brief, but heartfelt. In it, he congratulated Mia on her continued success and invited her to visit him in California. "Your courage and determination have inspired me every day," he wrote. "I'd love to catch up and hear about your latest adventures." The invitation thrilled Mia, and a few weeks later, she and Sarah traveled to California. The reunion with Clint was warm and nostalgic. Now in his 90s, Clint was as sharp and charismatic as ever, and he listened intently as Mia recounted her work with the foundation. "You've done something incredible," Clint said, his voice filled with pride. "You've created a legacy." During the visit, Clint surprised Mia by revealing a project he had been working on, a documentary about her life and the impact of the foundation. "This isn't just your story," he said. "It's a story about what kindness and community can achieve." The documentary, titled Mia's Miracle, premiered later that year, bringing her journey to an even wider audience. The film showcased not only Mia's resilience, but also the countless lives touched by her work. Viewers around the world were moved to take action, leading to a surge in donations and a renewed sense of purpose for the foundation. Back home, Mia continued her studies with a clear goal in mind: to become a pediatric oncologist. "I want to help kids like me," she often said. Not just with money, but with care and understanding. Her determination was evident in everything she did. She volunteered at local hospitals, mentored younger cancer survivors, and spoke at medical conferences about the importance of holistic care. Her words carried weight, not just because of her experiences, but because of the passion behind them. One evening, after a long day of volunteering, Mia sat with Sarah on their porch, watching the sunset. "Do you think I've done enough?" Mia asked quietly, her voice tinged with doubt. Sarah placed a reassuring hand on her daughter's shoulder. "Mia, you've done more than anyone could have imagined. But knowing you, I think you're just getting started." Mia smiled, her heart full of gratitude and determination. She had come so far, but she knew there was still much to do. As the stars appeared one by one in the night sky, she made a silent promise to continue her work, ensuring that no child would have to face cancer alone. By the time Mia reached her 20s, her name had become synonymous with hope and resilience. The Mia's Miracle Foundation had expanded internationally, funding pediatric cancer research, providing financial assistance to families, and building support networks for children undergoing treatment. What had started as a lemonade stand in her small neighborhood was now a global movement, changing lives across continents. Mia, now a 24-year-old medical student, balanced her studies with her role as the foundation's ambassador. She was often invited to speak at conferences, where her heartfelt stories and unshakable optimism inspired audiences worldwide. Her ability to connect with people on a personal level made her a powerful advocate for change. One evening, while attending a gala in New York City to celebrate the foundation's latest milestones, Mia was approached by an older man with tears in his eyes. "My grandson is alive today because of your foundation," he said, his voice trembling. "We couldn't afford his treatments, but your support made it possible." "Thank you." Mia's eyes welled up as she took his hands in hers. "I'm so glad we could help," she said softly. "That's what this is all about, making sure no one has to fight alone." The gala was a resounding success, raising millions for the foundation's initiatives. Clint Eastwood, now retired but still a vocal supporter, sent a video message congratulating Mia on her accomplishments. "You've grown into a force of nature, kiddo," he said. "The world is a better place because of you." As the foundation's reach grew, so did Mia's vision. She launched a new program called the Lemonade Project, which encouraged young people to start their own fundraising initiatives for causes close to their hearts. The program provided resources, mentorship, and grants to turn their ideas into reality. "If a little lemonade stand can change the world," Mia often said, "imagine what else we can do." Amid her busy schedule, Mia never forgot her roots. She often returned to her hometown, visiting the original spot where her lemonade stand once stood. The small wooden stand had been preserved as a monument, with a plaque reading, "From this stand, hope was poured into the world." Inspired by Mia, powered by love. During one such visit, Mia encountered a young girl named Lily, who was setting up her own lemonade stand nearby. Lily, a cancer survivor herself, had been inspired by Mia's story and wanted to give back. "I want to be like you when I grow up," Lily said, her eyes shining with admiration. Mia knelt beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You already are," she said warmly, "and I can't wait to see what you'll accomplish." As Mia walked back to her car, she felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Her journey, once defined by personal struggle, had become a catalyst for something far greater. The world had rallied around her cause, proving that even in the darkest moments, light could be found. That evening, Mia sat with her mom, Sarah, on their porch, just as they had so many times before. "Do you think I'll ever do enough?" Mia asked, her voice tinged with the same doubt that had lingered since her childhood. Sarah smiled, her eyes filled with pride. "Mia, you've already done more than anyone could have dreamed. But the beautiful thing about you is that you never stop trying. That's why your story will always matter." As the stars filled the night sky, Mia made another silent promise, not just to herself, but to everyone who had supported her along the way. Her fight wasn't just about cancer. It was about hope, kindness, and the belief that even the smallest acts could create a ripple effect that changed the world. At 30 years old, Mia had fulfilled her childhood dream of becoming a pediatric oncologist. Her days were spent in the hospital, where she treated children battling the same disease she had overcome. Every patient she met reminded her of her younger self, scared but determined. Her story offered them comfort, and her care went beyond medicine, focusing on their emotional and psychological well-being. In addition to her medical career, Mia remained the heart and soul of the Mia's Miracle Foundation, which had grown into one of the largest nonprofits dedicated to childhood cancer research and support. The foundation had opened treatment centers worldwide, ensuring that children in underserved communities had access to life-saving care. Each center bore the foundation's signature yellow and carried a plaque reading, "Inspired by Mia's journey, built on the power of kindness." One afternoon, as Mia walked through the halls of her hospital, she paused by the room of a young boy named Ethan. He was 9 years old and had been recently diagnosed with leukemia. His parents were visibly overwhelmed, their faces etched with worry. Mia entered the room, her presence calm and reassuring. "Hi, Ethan," she said, kneeling beside his bed. "I'm Dr. Mia, but you can just call me Mia. I know this feels scary right now, but I promise you're not alone. We're going to fight this together." Ethan looked up at her, his eyes wide. "Did you have cancer too?" he asked hesitantly. Mia nodded, pulling up a chair. "I did. And guess what? I beat it. And so will you." Her words brought a flicker of hope to Ethan's face and tears of gratitude to his parents' eyes. Moments like these were why Mia had chosen this path, to turn her pain into a source of strength for others. Meanwhile, the Lemonade Project had grown into an international movement, empowering young people to take action for causes they cared about. From environmental conservation to education initiatives, the program had inspired thousands of grassroots campaigns. Mia often traveled to meet these young changemakers, each one reminding her of the lemonade stand that started it all. During one of these visits, she met a teenager named Sophia, who had organized a community art project to support mental health awareness. "Your story taught me that even small actions can make a big difference," Sophia said, her voice filled with emotion. "Thank you for showing us what's possible." Mia smiled, her heart full. "It's people like you who keep the story going," she said. "Never stop believing in the power of what you can do." Back in her hometown, the original lemonade stand had become a landmark, drawing visitors from around the world. On the 25th anniversary of its creation, the town held a celebration in Mia's honor. Clint Eastwood, now retired but still a beloved figure, attended the event, delivering a speech that brought the crowd to its feet. "Mia didn't just sell lemonade," Clint said, his voice still carrying the same gravitas it had all those years ago. "She poured hope into a world that needed it. And she reminded us all that even the smallest acts of kindness can change lives." As the crowd cheered, Mia stepped up to the podium, her yellow dress shimmering under the lights. "This stand wasn't just about lemonade," she began. "It was about believing in something bigger than myself. I fought my battle with cancer, but I didn't fight it alone. And because of that support, I'm here today, standing with all of you." Tears filled the eyes of those in the audience as Mia looked out at the crowd, her family, friends, and countless others who had been touched by her story. "Let this stand always remind us that together, we can face anything. And that hope, no matter how small, is always worth fighting for." As the sun set over the celebration, Mia stood by the lemonade stand, surrounded by loved ones and strangers alike. The journey had been long and difficult, but every step had been worth it. Her life was proof that one person's courage, supported by the kindness of others, could truly change the world. Years turned into decades, and Mia's story became the cornerstone of a legacy that spanned generations. The Mia's Miracle Foundation continued its work, expanding its reach to every corner of the globe. Hospitals bore her name, scholarships were awarded in her honor, and every year, communities gathered to celebrate Lemonade for Hope Day, inspired by the little girl who had turned a simple act into a movement. Now in her 70s, Dr. Mia Williams sat on the porch of her childhood home, her silver hair catching the soft glow of the evening sun. Beside her sat her mother, Sarah, whose kind eyes still sparkled with pride. The lemonade stand, lovingly restored and preserved, stood nearby as a monument to everything they had built together. Its bright yellow paint was a reminder of the hope it had symbolized for so many. "Mom," Mia said softly, her voice carrying the wisdom of a lifetime. "Do you ever think about that first day we set up the stand? Did you ever imagine it would lead to all this?" Sarah smiled, her hands resting gently on her lap. "I remember watching you pour that first cup of lemonade. So determined to help," she replied. "I didn't know where it would take us, but I knew your heart was strong enough to change the world." In the distance, children played in the park, their laughter echoing through the neighborhood. One of them ran up to the lemonade stand, pointing at the plaque that told Mia's story. The child's father knelt beside them, explaining how Mia's journey had inspired millions and saved countless lives. Mia watched the scene unfold, her heart swelling with gratitude. "It's not just my story anymore," she said, turning to Sarah. "It belongs to everyone who believed in me, who carried it forward." Her thoughts drifted to Clint Eastwood, whose act of kindness had set everything in motion. Though he was long gone, his legacy lived on in every child whose life had been touched by the foundation. In her later years, Mia often spoke of him as a reminder that sometimes it only takes one person to change the trajectory of another's life. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Mia stood and walked toward the lemonade stand. She picked up an old pitcher and poured 2 glasses, handing one to her mom. Together, they toasted to the journey that had begun so many years ago. To hope, Mia said, her voice steady and full of meaning. To hope, Sarah echoed, her eyes misty with emotion. The stars began to fill the night sky, their light reflecting the countless lives Mia had touched. She knew her time was finite, but her story, and the legacy it created, would live on forever. The little girl who had once fought a battle with lemonade and love had become a symbol of what humanity could achieve when courage met kindness. And as the night settled over the quiet street, the lemonade stand stood as a timeless reminder that even the smallest acts could ripple into something extraordinary, leaving the world brighter than it had ever been before. Don't forget to subscribe to help us achieve our dream. Share where you're watching from in the comments, and may God bless you. Thank you for being a part of Fame Retold.